Well, hey, you guys, I am so excited about today's show because whenever I have guests, it's always fun to have a conversation, but specifically with topics that selfishly I'm interested in. So today I have Dr. Arthur Brooks, and he's joining us. He's an author, a speaker, a Harvard professor, a social scientist. The list just goes on and on. So welcome.
Thanks, Rachel. Great to be with you.
I know. Thanks for being here.
I've been looking forward to it.
So great. Okay, so give us just a little context
Yeah.
of you, just your history, what caused you to do what you do in the world today, because you're doing a lot and you're making an incredible impact, honestly, with the content
Thanks.
that you're writing, your articles, everything. It's amazing.
Yeah, I've been working for the last 5 years exclusively on the science of happiness and bringing it to the most people I possibly can. And that's because some years ago when I stepped down from a CEO job that I had working in public policy, I went back to my roots as a behavioral scientist. So I was an academic for many years, and I thought, I want to go back to academia, but I want to use it in a way that I can lift people up and bring them together in bonds of happiness and love. This is my goal in life, but I want to use science and ideas. And so that's what I've been all about. It's kind of a movement of using cutting edge social science and neuroscience to help people live their best lives.
Yeah, and which I think is so fascinating. That's why I like all of your content, because it's proving the point that you can have like these emotions, like of gratitude or contentment, or you're feeling a certain way, or loneliness, right? On the other side, you're feeling these things. And then when you pair it with the brain, when you pair it with actual science and fact, I think it just gives like the validity to no, this is real stuff. This isn't just like this made up kind of woo woo thing up in the air, right?
Yeah.
It's real, and you're seeing it, as a scientist.
Oh yeah, for sure. And as a matter of fact, I started doing a lot of this because I wanted to have a better life personally. I started to use my academic background in science to see whether or not I could engineer my own life in a better way. So I could be a better person, I could be a better husband and father, now grandfather, how I could bring ideas to people in a more effective way. Yeah. And I turned it into a class. I teach it at the Harvard Business School. I turned it into a class on the science of happiness. And it was very successful because people were saying that it worked for them.
I was going to say,
so it's got a really long waiting list. And then I started writing about it in The Atlantic, which is a magazine, and every Thursday morning, 1,300 words on the science of happiness, and got a big audience because people were finding it was helping their lives. And I thought, I got to find ways through, great means of dissemination like this to get it to, the audiences of people that can use science, but they didn't know that in a way that they can manage their own happiness in a more effective way and bring more happiness to others. See, here's the deal. The secret to happiness is becoming a happiness teacher. And so my goal is empowering people to understand their own happiness. Yeah. Within the bounds of what's possible. I'm not trying to make it so that people never feel unhappy. On the contrary, because being alive means having, negative experiences and emotions.
Yes.
To not pathologize their unhappiness, but to manage it effectively and then to bring more happiness to others. That's how a movement really works.
So good. Because some of the stuff you talk about too, which money, like the whole does money buy happiness, right? Like that's always like the question, I feel like. And when we talk about on this show so much is getting to a place of peace with your money, because a lot of people feel that stress and that anxiety constantly, just from the tactical side, right? They don't have the money to pay the bills and all of that. So getting people to this place. But then I also think that there's this like imaginative world that I feel like we see maybe through social media or things that we've heard in the past that we think if I could just have X amount of money, everything would be okay.
Right.
And I talk a lot on this show is that, you could still make a huge income and still be as terrible with money as you are today. It's just more magnified, right? Yeah. And that the happiness doesn't necessarily come. But you talk about the 5 areas of what you can do with money.
Right.
And that some actually will bring you some happiness on how you spend it or use it. Yeah. And then there's one that doesn't. Will you walk through that? Because I think that's so interesting.
And one thing that you said that's really important, which is that you can have a lot of money and still be crummy with money.
Yes.
The reason is because money makes you more of who you are.
That's right.
Anything of these world's rewards, fame makes you more of who you are, good or bad.
Yes.
Power makes you more of who you are, good or bad. And getting rich, great. Congratulations. You hit the lottery, but in real life, because the lottery is actually awful. But you earned a lot of money. That's great, but it's going to make you more of who you are. So you better understand money. You better understand how it works in your life and your happiness.
And the character of who you are in the process,
totally.
Right?
You need to work on you, not, it's just like, if I have more money, it's going to solve the problems. No.
Totally.
Now, again, we're not talking about living in a country where people are dying of starvation.
Yes.
We're talking, thank God we live in America. I am so grateful to live in a country where we have the high class problems that we have when it comes around money today.
Yeah.
I literally in my prayers, I'm very thankful every day that I live in this country because my problems are so much better than if we were having starvation issues.
Totally.
Okay. So our high class problem is what do you do with money such that you're not fooled and that you can actually become happier in how you use it. There's 5 things you can do. You can buy stuff. You can buy experiences, right? You can buy time by paying people to do things. You can give it away, and you can save it. Those are literally the exhaustive list of things that you can do with money. There's lots and lots of work by social psychologists on what brings happiness and what doesn't. First of all, what does your brain want you to do? Now, Mother Nature programs into you that you need to survive, pass on your genes, and rise in hierarchy. That's what Mother Nature has programmed into your caveman brain to do. And the way that you do that ordinarily is by showing that you have excess resources. Why does somebody want 5 watches? That dude's got 5 watches. He would make a good mate. So people are signaling in sort of the...
It's wild to
it's
me
crazy.
That it's even just innate in who we are as people, right?
We'll
it makes you feel less crazy.
In this way,
that's
right?
That's right.
And men especially will do this. So women too. But the whole point is we want to show that we have excess resources for all of these weird reasons that we don't even understand very much. And so the result is that we make this mistake of thinking that if we buy more stuff that looks kind of cool, that we'll be happier. That's wrong. Why? Because Mother Nature doesn't care if you're happy. She doesn't care. The 4 ways to get happier consistently are using your resources within responsibility to get experiences and have those experiences with people you love. Okay. Number 2. It's not Disney World will make you happy, but Disney World with people you love will make you happy.
Yes, that's right.
If you can afford it and you don't put it on the credit card.
Sure, thank you.
Right. Because I'm going to get to that. Number 2 is buying time. But spending it not scrolling Instagram, but spending it meaningfully, and reading your Bible, going for a walk, spending it with people you love. That's how you spend the time. Use the time in a way that fortifies you.
That's good too, because I think that's convicting. Because there can be a sense of, okay, I'll just pass on this responsibility to X, Y, and Z to be able to like free up there, some of my time. And then
you watch TV.
What do you do mindlessly? It's not benefiting you
at all. As a matter of fact, you'll be happier mowing your own lawn than you will be watching mindless television.
Yes.
So don't buy the time by paying somebody and then waste your time. On the contrary, think, if I'm not spending the time mowing the lawn, what am I going to be doing? And then make the commitment and do it.
So good.
Yeah. Next is giving the money away. Giving the money away consistently makes people happier, healthier. There's even research that shows that when you give money away, people think you're better looking.
Really?
Yeah, I got data on this. Yeah, so when spouses see their spouse behaving charitably, philanthropically, it's more attractive. Especially women see men who behave philanthropically as physically more attractive.
Interesting.
Yeah, news you can use, guys.
That's right. It's very exciting news.
Yeah.
Again, give me some of the research behind this, because we talk about. This is why I love having you here, because some of the things that we talk about on the show, again, it's through experience, but it doesn't have the layered education that you're bringing to the conversation.
It follows common sense.
So the giving part, I mean, even on our budgeting app, it's the first thing. It's the first thing we tell people to do is you give, you save, then you pay bills.
Right.
Because giving, the way I've always seen it and experienced it, is it does create this joy of this selflessness in life, where it's like not all about you. You're actually looking up and saying, what can I contribute to the world, right? So there's joy in that.
Totally.
But what's the science?
What's the psychology?
I'm curious.
The answer is that when you witness yourself solving problems, you have greater agency. You have you're a person who's more effective. And so there's all these data that show that if you give more one year, you make way more than that back, about $3.65 for every dollar you give away in the next year. Now, again, your results may vary. You got to give something that you really believe in. Don't just burn the money with some dumb cause. And you got to do the work to make sure that you're passionate about it. But the point is, the more you give, the more evidence that you have that you're a giving person, that you're an effective person, that you can afford to do it. It's a gutsy decision, right? And my dad, my parents never made it out of lower middle class. But my dad never missed his tithe. My dad never missed his tithe. And it's funny because when I became an economist, I remember asking my dad, it's just about this tithing, because I was doing work on it. I'm doing work on the behavior and the effects. I said, do you give before or after taxes? And my dad's like, before taxes. I'm like, Dad, come on. I mean, it's render unto Caesar, but what's left? And because he was a serious Christian guy.
Yeah.
I said, why? And he said, just in case.
Just in case. just to cover every base that I need.
My dad was a scientist, and so he was thinking about the probabilities, et cetera, even in heaven. But the bottom line is, it was very empowering to my parents, and they cared about it, and it was good for them.
So good.
And then the last is saving the money.
Yeah.
And saving brings huge amounts of happiness. Huge. Why? Because it's making progress. Humans are wired for progress. When you're saving, you're making progress. Now, some people become pathological about it. I know rich people who are still beavering away money at 80 years old.
Right. So like what's for the balance of that, not being a hoarder, like a scarcity mindset, right? Like what do you see of that balance of like, there is a level of saving that creates happiness.
Right.
Probably at a level of security in the progress and seeing that number grow. But yet, how do you balance that?
Yeah, well, the truth is that most people are not going to have that problem. That's a very rare thing. So I find, rich people who are misers, the Ebenezer Scrooge effect. Right. I don't see that very often, but sometimes, I work with very successful people. I have to say, look, you're putting money away at such an extent that you're not going to spend it because you don't know how to spend money. You hate to spend money. It's become pathological. You're going to mess up your kids.
Yep.
This is going to mess up your kids because your adult kids are going to get, $10 or $15 million each. And that's just, it's not right because you earned your success and it's the source of your incredible satisfaction and you're not letting them earn their success. Why are you taking away that satisfaction from your kids? So I have to have that kind of that Dutch uncle talk.
Totally.
But most people, most people watching us are like, yeah, it would be nice to have that problem, high class problem. Most people, the problem is that they think they're going to get more satisfaction from immediate consumption and debt.
The spending.
And the debt is incredibly bad for your happiness. I mean, I've got tons of data that show that the feeling of helplessness and the regress that happens when you're actually paying off consumer debt is way, way, way outweighing the satisfaction you could get from anything you buy right now. Think about it.
Interesting.
I look at car loans, terrible for happiness, terrible for happiness. Student loans, it can go either way. When they're too large or you don't finish your degree, big problem.
Yep.
Mortgages can be fine, but here's the thing. If you pay off your mortgage, you will get a happiness bump like you can't imagine.
Totally.
Right?
Yes.
So
yes.
most people have to borrow to buy their home. Okay.
For sure.
That's not a deleterious, terrible thing. Right. But if you can pay it off, you're going to love that.
Yeah.
But credit card debt, it's crazy. Now, the special case. I had to put groceries on my credit card. I had to pay a bill with a credit card. Okay. Those are special cases.
Right.
That's not the vast majority of cases.
No.
The vast majority of cases are I wanted that thing.
It's a lifestyle level.
And don't do it.
Yep.
Don't do it because you're going behind the line of scrimmage and you're going to have to come back and that's going to wreck your happiness.
All the way. That's what's so fascinating too is because, again, not having the science like all behind it all, but talking to people, Arthur, I'm like, doing this for 10, 15 years, I'm like, the house thing even, right? So, the argument is constant. Yeah. Why would you ever pay off your mortgage if you have a 2.3%? You could be making 10% and the spread's 8%. You could be making more money, smart. And I'm like, but there's something about it. When you own and you have autonomy over your life, there's something that occurs within you, within your spirit and your soul that is different. But you now have the science to prove it.
It's very satisfying. I think I see people who they live in places where housing values are going through the roof, and they start using their house like an ATM machine.
Yeah, and
they start by owing $80,000, and 10 years later they owe $250,000, and the argument is, but my house is worth $500,000. But no. What we care about is not these cold financial calculations about what looks good on the spreadsheet.
That's right. It's the person. It's a human.
You.
Yeah,
it's you. Does somebody have a claim on you or not? It's incredibly freeing to have nobody have a claim on you.
Totally.
And look, we're Americans. We demand freedom.
Right. That's right. Except all in this one area.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. I so enjoy again
Thank you, Rachel.
all the work you're doing. Truly, there is something about this, like maybe the time we are in the year even, but there's like restlessness that I feel within people, and people like you just bring a level of calm and peace.
Thanks.
And I really appreciate
Thanks for all you do for setting people free.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, where can everyone find you?
ArthurBrooks.com.
Okay, and your books, everything's
the
there?
Books, but you can find out about it. You go on Amazon, you can find my books. Or in The Atlantic every Thursday morning, I write about the science of happiness. But it's all there on ArthurBrooks.com, one-stop shopping.
So great. Guys, make sure to check out everything he's doing. Follow him. And again, getting these tidbits of life, honestly, that brings a level of peace and control. So thanks again.
Thanks.
All right, you guys, if you enjoyed this conversation, then I highly recommend you also check out what it actually costs to live in America today. Remember, you guys, to take control of your money and create a life you love. All right, you guys, we are officially more than 2/3 through the year. Can you believe that? So this got me thinking about how powerful it can be to set money goals according to time. So today, I want to go over some tips for finishing out the year financially strong. So it's the beginning of September, which means we've got a little less than 4 months left in 2024. So it's not too late to set a goal and accomplish it. And sometimes having a specific finish line is all you need to stay motivated and to make major progress. So let's talk about some simple changes that you can make to see big impact in no time. So my first tip or challenge to you is to finish the year financially strong is to revisit your current goals. So we all were like, yeah, New Year's resolutions, like way back when, right? And then it gets to February, we're off track. I mean, it's just crazy. But that doesn't mean that you're doomed for the rest of time. So looking ahead at 12 months can be really daunting, but looking ahead just 4 months feels a little bit better, a little bit more doable. So let's say you set a goal back in January, go back to your January goals, and maybe it was a goal to set an extra $100 a month towards your mortgage. Well, if you haven't stuck to that goal the way you wanted to, what if you set a new and improved goal of saying, hey, what if I put $500 towards my mortgage by the end of this year? Or have you ever set a goal and it was just really low? Then revisit some of the areas that maybe you've been crushing it and see, okay, if we can up the ante just for a few months. So adjusting your goals is a great way to have success when it comes to your money. And even here at Ramsey, different business units will get up and speak to the entire company every single week to report their recent goals. So it's not unusual for them to say, yeah, we initially hit the number that we wanted, but we saw progress and we went ahead and increased our original goal. Now, regardless of whether you go back and you're like, oh yeah, I made great progress when it comes to my goals, make sure that you are using data to inform your financial goals for next year. So speaking of that, my second tip is to finish the year strong by going back through your budget and do a deep clean. So the trick I'm about to explain to you is one of the many reasons why I love the Every Dollar budgeting app. If you open your Every Dollar app, you can click Insights and you can look at trends of your own personal spending habits. Pay attention when you might have overspent in an area, or maybe even certain months you'll see, oh gosh, we were, over budget here, or maybe we were under budget. Maybe we ate out a lot during the summer, or maybe there was a birthday party that we forgot to budget for. Like whatever the patterns that you're seeing in your budget, think of those for next year. And if you've never tried out the Every Dollar budget, it is a game changer, you guys. Go to everydollar.com/Rachel to get started right away. All right, my third tip to finish the year financially strong is to focus on debt if you have any. So if you are using credit cards, for instance, maybe you make a commitment to say no more credit card spending till the end of the year. Maybe you just ditch them altogether, but sometimes it takes people some baby steps. Or maybe you're paying off debt, but you're kind of in a slump and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this. Remember, time is on your side. Get motivated again and have those bite-sized goals for the end of the year to keep you going. Ask yourself, what's one goal that could be a quick win for you by the end of 2024? And sometimes it's worth it to focus on just one thing to get that momentum going, okay? So you guys can do this. Ditch that debt by the end of the year. Make progress towards it. All right, before I share my last two tips for finishing the year financially strong, I would love to tell you about one of our sponsors, Christian Healthcare Ministries. So when you go against what society thinks is quote unquote normal, like avoiding debt, for example, it might sound or seem really weird at first, but that's totally okay. We want you to be weird if that means you're actually doing things intentionally, including how you spend your healthcare dollars. And one way to be intentional is with Christian Healthcare Ministries. CHM isn't health insurance. They're a health cost-sharing ministry that's helped hundreds of thousands of families like yours take care of healthcare costs without sacrificing their freedom. So find out more at chministries.org/budget. That's chministries.org/budget. All right, my fourth tip for finishing the year strong is to budget for Christmas. I know. I mean, think about all the holidays coming up. You got Halloween, you got Thanksgiving, you got Christmas. And listen, Christmas is usually the one that you're going to spend more money on. So make sure that you're planning ahead for it. So budget for, even the kids' Halloween costumes. Yes, budget if you're going somewhere for Thanksgiving, be thinking about that. And think through, hey, are there limits that we want to put on Christmas this year? Are there limits for each spouse and what we're going to spend on each other? Think through all of these things, because the truth is It is coming, y'all. The holidays are coming. And the earlier you can budget, the better off you're going to be, because you're not going to make impulse decisions and rack up debt. And come January, February, March, you're kicking yourselves thinking, golly, why didn't I start saving earlier? Well, here I am telling you, start saving. All right, my fifth and final tip for finishing the year financially strong is to make a goal to save or invest a certain amount of money by the end of the year. So whether this is contributing, an extra $50 a month to retirement, or maybe you want to save $1,000 before December, whatever it is, have a goal out there. As humans, I think we're tempted to think, oh yeah, I'll be disciplined later. I just need to get through the holidays. I'm not going to worry about it. This is the time now to implement some really great habits, you guys, and to be thinking through, hey, we can put some money aside and save. Because again, this whole idea of finishing strong is I want you to have some goals in place that you actually accomplish. And you actually say, oh my gosh, at the end of the year, look what we did, in the last quarter of the year. And that's going to really take you into January with a lot of momentum. All right, here's a little bonus tip for you. If you've ever grabbed one of our favorite Ramsey goal planners, you need to grab yours today. The newest one is out. So shop the link in the description so you can order yours for the new year and be sure you're planning all things life and money. And if you haven't checked out my episode on feeling financially behind with my friend Dawn, aka Minimal Mom, make sure to check that out. All right, you guys, as always, make sure to take control of your money and create a life you love. So I've been in the personal finance industry for well over a decade now, and I know one thing for sure. The people who have the most success when it comes to money are the ones who fully commit to a process, even if it's for a season. So today I'm going to share with you 4 money challenges that you can start today to save hundreds of dollars very quickly. And spoiler alerts, the last one is guaranteed to save you over $5,000 in just 3 months. So stay tuned. And first, make sure to subscribe to the channel and share this episode with a friend. All right, the first challenge is the Minimalist Challenge. So this came from the Minimalists, and they talked about this in their documentary. And it was so good because it was so helpful to me. And I actually did this one. And so what you do is you throw away, donate, give away, whatever you want to do, get rid of, basically, an item in your house, but it has to correlate with the date of the month. So let's say it's April 15th. Well, you need to get rid of 15 items. And you can do this with different categories. Like you could say just like for my pantry or for my closet, or my bathroom, right? All the stuff that we have in our drawers, like whatever it is, areas of your house, or it could just be your whole house. But doing this, it was incredible, you guys. I mean, seriously, but you get to like day 25 and you've been doing it all month. And you're like, let's find 25 more items now. But it forces you into a system just to like purge and get rid of stuff. And again, you can even sell some of your stuff and make money. So for instance, you can make an extra like $300 by selling a designer bag on Poshmark that you haven't worn, or maybe an extra $500 for selling a sofa that you never use, or $100 or $1,000 for electronics. Like the range is endless. The items are endless, but it is a great way to make some money. Now, again, it can be very difficult. When I was getting to the end of mine, I would find a bobby pin and throw it away because I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I have any more items. But again, it really just kind of cleans up your life, gets the junk out. You can make some money. You can toss some stuff. You can give some stuff away, but it's great. The Minimalist Challenge, I love. Number 2 is the Consumption Challenge. So you only consume what you already have, this item, before you buy more of the next. Now, we are all kind of guilty of this, or I know I am. It's like, oh, a lotion, I'll buy a new lotion, or I'll buy more shampoo, or candles, or paper towels, when I don't need to because I still have all these products. So the idea is getting rid of everything first and then going and buying what you need. And when you pause kind of like the Target or the home goods section of your budget, you really could save anywhere from $50 to $200 a month by not restocking items before you've used them. So I am guilty of this. Shampoo is a big one for me. I keep shampoo around because I'll switch it up sometimes. Lotions, like all that beauty stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I try to get rid of everything and then go and buy it. Number 3 is the no spend challenge. So this one's pretty self-explanatory, but you basically spend no money throughout a month except for essentials. So no eating out, no shopping, no excessive subscriptions. Like, you literally cut everything back. And what we have found is even just eating out, the average person can save $200 to $300 a month. And if you took out a lot of the streaming services, I mean, you could save close to $100 a month if you do all of that. So this is a hard one, and I've done this one before as well. But again, you say, yes, you're going to like pay for your water and pay for food and all of it, but it's the extra stuff, the non-essentials. And I realized for me how often I just went to Amazon and I was like, oh, we need this, I'll buy this, I'll buy this, I'll buy this. And we don't really need it. It'd be nice to have, but we didn't need it. And so you do end up saving so much money. Now, while you're cleaning up your budget, you should also thinking about cleaning up your digital footprint, because we all have a digital footprint in today's world. We spend so much of our time online and so much of our life is online, and we end up putting our information out there. And what's so hard is that companies take our information and sell it to other companies, and we don't want that, do we? They're making money off of us, and then we end up getting scammed. We end up getting all these like emails that we're not asking for, all this junk stuff, and you're like, oh my gosh. So getting rid of your information online is so important. That's why I love and use Delete Me, because they go in and they remove your information from data broker websites that, again, try to sell, buy, trade your information, and they get rid of it. Get rid of your information. They've saved me over 30 hours of doing this, and they are incredible. And you can save up to 20% off a plan today. Just go to joindeleteme.com/Rachel. The next challenge is the 100 envelope challenge. Now, this is where you take 100 envelopes, okay? You label them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 100. And every day you pick an envelope, and whatever number is on that envelope, you put that number of cash, of dollars, in the envelope. So you pick up 25, you put $25 in. You pick up 72, you got to put $72 in there. And you do that every single day. So it takes about 3 months. But over all of that, all that time, all that money, it accumulates to over $5,000. A lot of my coworkers have done this one, and it's great because it's a little bit of a game, and it forces you into a system, and it forces you to put money aside. And so if you're interested in this, I'll put Ramsey's step-by-step article on how to do this one specifically down below. But what I love about all of these is, again, it just kind of gives you the system to live in, that it feels different. There's going to be some change. You may be a little uncomfortable. It may not be fun all the time, but it allows you to free up your life. So these money challenges I really do like. But let's be real. Some of these challenges take weeks, if not months, and sometimes you need to find money fast. So for a quick savings win, make sure to check out my 24-hour money finder challenge. This is a great tool that really takes account all of your spending, all the big ticket items in life, and helps you find up to $400 of margin that you didn't know you had. So I'll leave a link down below for you to start saving today. But you can also check out my episode where I walk you through the 24-hour money finder. You can click right there, or I'll put a link in the show notes if you're listening on podcast. All right, you guys, remember to take control of your money and create a life you love. Well, hey, you guys. So I want to talk about how to deal with one of the most common money problems that I hear about, and that is financial stress. So if you've ever felt anxious or stressed about your money, you are not alone. And you would be shocked at how many people feel the same way, really at any income level. So today, I'm going to be sharing 8 ways to deal with your money stress. Now, obviously, we can't just wave a magic wand and get rid of that feeling overnight, but there are some really simple, practical things you can start doing to move in that right direction. And be sure to stick around till the end of the list so you can drop any tips that I may have left out in the comments. All right, so the backstory of this topic I was thinking about is when I actually saw Inside Out 2, that movie. If y'all have not seen it, oh my gosh, it's like therapy in an hour and a half. Like, it is so good. And one of the new characters is anxiety. And there was this moment where she comes to the group of the other emotions and she's like introducing herself. And she's like, hi, I'm anxiety. And she's explaining like how anxious she is and all the things. And fear, that emotion, was like, oh, we're going to be best friends. And she looked at fear and she said, well, you have to worry about what Riley's dealing with today, right now, what she's facing. I worry about what's going to happen to her in the future. Things that haven't even happened yet. That's my job to worry about those. Oh, try that. Oh my gosh, kids, are y'all taking notes? Like, does everyone know how profound that is? Because it is so true. So listen, anxiety can happen, fear can happen around money. So you may be feeling fear about your present situation and like, oh my gosh, today I have a bill due and do I have enough money for it? Or maybe it is this level of just anxiety about the future of thinking, okay, are we going to be okay? If we keep going down this path, what's going to happen? So when people feel stressed about money, again, it's usually related to that idea of a fear or a goal they want to achieve. So if that sounds like you, and maybe you are feeling a little hopeless or just frozen, here's where I would start. Okay, you ready? Number 1, take inventory of where you stand with your finances right now. So an easy way to pinpoint where you are in terms of financial priorities is to figure out where you fall on the baby steps. Because a lot of people that are starting off are like, I don't know, am I doing okay? Am I not? So you can kind of figure out, okay, do you have an emergency fund? Are you working your way out of debt? How much debt do you have? What do you have in retirement if you've opened up any type of retirement investing? So actually knowing where you're at, because what we do find too is that some anxiety and fear with money is creeped up just in our heads because you don't even know really what's going on. And the old joke back in the day was like the bill drawer, that when the bills come in, you just put them in a drawer and close it. It's like, I don't even want to look at it. Well, now a lot of things are online. And so the idea of logging on to your accounts and knowing where you actually are may actually decrease some of that fear and anxiety because you have logic going in, which is huge. All right, number 2, create a monthly budget and start tracking your expenses. So this is one of the best ways to get in control of your money. When your income comes in, knowing where it's going, and every single dollar has a plan, has somewhere where it's going. I mean, I want you to be that exact because there is something powerful about taking control over things you can control. Now, I love the EveryDollar app. So if you go to everydollar.com/Rachel, you can actually create a budget for free. You can download the app and do that. But really getting into this process and this rhythm of budgeting and then having that app connect to your bank account, I think is a really crucial step because your transactions then will come in and you'll be able to track your transactions throughout the month. So when you swipe your debit card, you know where it's going because you can drag and drop those transactions in the app. And again, it's this idea that you are on top of your budget, on top of your income, knowing what is going on. All right, number 3, if you have debt, start paying it off. So not having payments will lower your stress. That has been proven time and time again. When you don't owe anyone anything, you have a lot of options and freedom on what to do with your income and your life. So if you do have debt, I recommend paying it off using the debt snowball method, where you list out all of your debts, smallest to largest, regardless of the interest rate, pay minimum payments on everything, and attack that smallest debt first. And this is going to cause a lot of momentum because you're going to get those quick wins, which is huge. Number 4, I would encourage you to work with a financial coach. So handling money should never just be a one-man job. So if you are married, you obviously want to handle money with your spouse, but I would have somebody else in your corner too. If you have a great financial coach, make sure to reach out to them. Or even, if you're single, having somebody that does this and to be able to say, hey, will you look at these numbers? And again, that can be a good friend or a family member, but having somebody with you. But then you can go a step further and getting someone that actually is really professional at this when it comes to investing and having an investment professional on your side. But the idea is kind of getting some experts around you, I think is really, really important. All right, number 5, get a side hustle to earn extra cash. So you can do things like grab a local retail job. If you know guitar, teach guitar lessons. My girls are doing piano, and so we have someone coming to the house to do piano lessons, right? If you want to tutor even, one of my friends does this. She tutors a bunch of kids in our neighborhood, which is fantastic. I mean, babysitting, dog sitting, like whatever you can do to earn extra money, I think is really, really key, especially if you're really stressed and even underwater when it comes to finances. You have to get your income up. And remember, this will not be forever. This additional stream of income, it's going to be helpful for you to relieve some of that stress and get on a better plan. And again, you're not going to do this forever and ever, but for a period of time, it may be something to really consider. All right, before I share the rest of this list, it is time for a bonus tip to beat financial stress. And it's something that could prevent you from having future financial struggles online. Because you guys, there are scammers everywhere these days. And I'll admit, I am one to possibly fall for a scam or two every now and then. I hate it, but sometimes that happens. But listen, there is no shame if you've been there too. If you have fallen for some of this, it is okay because it happens to the best of us, which is why I recommend recommend and I use Delete Me. So Delete Me gives me so much peace of mind. It finds and removes my personal info, like my home address, my phone number, and more from hundreds of data broker websites, helping you to get away from spammers, scammers, and online thieves, and potentially saving you a lot of time and money. So you guys, you need to check it out. So go to joindeleteme.com/Rachel for 20% off. That's joindeleteme.com/Rachel. All right, back to this list to lower our financial stress. Number 6 on the list, which I love, is to make a gratitude list and celebrate your wins. Okay, and this isn't just like, rah, rah, we're going to just be cheesy and have positive thinking. But honestly, you guys, studies have proven that the way we think and what we believe about ourselves and the world around us changes our attitude and our outlook and ultimately our actions. And so there really is something beautiful about thinking, okay, my mind is powerful. And if I sit there and talk about just, how hard it is, it's good to do that. I want you to be honest about where you are, and leaning into those hard emotions is beautiful and great. But we don't want to just stay there, right? You want to move to something better, and you want to move not just a plan tactically, but also in what you believe about yourself. And I would just encourage you that people every day, from every income level, debt level, every part of the country, even the world now, it is wild. People are getting control of their money, and it really is a beautiful thing. And I think part of it is that belief. And it's so hard to have hope when you're stressed. But again, that's why the earlier parts of this list, I think, are important to get some of that tactical control, but then really start believing that, gosh, I can do this, and having that positive thinking and that gratitude. And so gratitude is so key. So even writing down 1 or 2 things you're grateful for every day. I even was listening to a podcast, and someone said before they go to bed, they make themselves think through the day and just pick out 2 things they're grateful for. These small actions, you guys, it changes how we believe and what we think about our world and who we are. So it's really, really key. This is an important step I don't want you to miss. All right, number 7 is always have a future goal that you're working towards. So the 7 baby steps, those are a great guide because it kind of does show you, hey, here's where you should move on next. But always have that goal. And even, maybe it's if you're paying off debt, maybe the next goal is that next debt. Maybe it's not being completely debt-free because that may feel very overwhelming, but it's like, okay, we just got to get that next debt paid off. Or if you're saving up for a fully funded emergency fund, maybe it's like, okay, let's just get first month's emergency fund. Let's just get a month's worth. That's our goal, right? It's these little steps within the steps that are really important, but do those and celebrate those wins. And number 8 is to start giving. So giving is something that is going to change your attitude about money. There is something beautiful about this generosity piece of money that, again, some people are so overwhelmed with their current situation. So I'll just say, give a little until you can give a lot. Even just, paying for someone's order that's behind you in the line, in the drive-thru, or tiny, acts of kindness or generosity can go a really, really long way. It's really beautiful what it does to you and your soul and who you are as a person, but also for the person you're giving to. And so, again, I think it's really important to be prepared financially with all of your finances and everything. But again, like I mentioned earlier, one of the best ways to kind of keep a finger and a pulse on what's going on in your life is to know, okay, how do I feel during all of this? And what generosity and giving does is it just gives you this wholeness of what your money can do. And it's really, really beautiful. Well, I hope that those 8 ways to lower stress help you guys, because I know a lot of people are just feeling the pinch. Today's world, it's so expensive. It is, from the grocery store to the housing market. It is. It's just, it can make you feel behind, and you're not behind. Things are just more expensive, which means we have to be that much more diligent with our money. So do not forget to set up your every dollar budget. Make sure to do that today. And if you haven't, then you definitely need to check out my episode on 6 legit ways to earn passive income. All right, you guys, remember to take control of your money and create a life you love. At the end of the day, I cannot force you to follow a monthly budget. Sometimes I love control, and I wish I could get into each one of your finances and be like, do this. But I can respond to some of the complaints, no offense, when it comes to budgeting, because there's a lot of excuses out there that I get of, well, I can't budget because this. So let's debunk 5 reasons a budget won't work for you. And let me know in the comments if you feel like, yes, Rachel, maybe you're right, or maybe you're wrong. I want to hear. Now make sure to like, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend. All right, number one, which makes sense, but the number one excuse I hear is we have inconsistent incomes, so it is just too complicated. So when it comes to budgeting, I agree. This makes it much harder. It is so much easier if you know what your paycheck's going to be on the 15th or the 30th and you know what's happening. Much easier to budget because you know exactly what you're going to be, what you're going to make, and then you can budget accordingly of all of your expenses. When you don't know how much you're going to make, it does make it a little bit more complicated, but you can still budget. And this is my job. I literally am on commission. So my paycheck is very different month to month. And so I kind of have to guess because you don't always know when you start the budget for the next month how much you're going to make. So Winston and I, we just kind of guesstimate. And we're like, okay, here's what I think I'm going to make based on these things and these things. And sometimes you have to lower it. Sometimes you have to up it depending on what you get paid on, on the 15th or however you get paid if it's every 2 weeks. But the idea here is that you are going to have to prioritize your budget if this is you. You're going to have the things that you have to pay every month up at the top. So that's food, shelter, utilities, transportation, insurance, childcare, these things are okay, I have to have these things. And then down below are the things that, okay, if we don't make as much this month, we're going to have to cut this line item. And that's okay because we have what we need. So that's how you start to do it. But then I will tell you, as you get good at this, when you have really great months, you're going to want to put some money aside. So when you have low months, you can bring that money back in and it kind of makes it more stable. We call it peaks and valleys. So you can even have a completely different account for this if you want to, checking account, that you put some money in or a savings account so that you can pull from that money and put it back in your checking on a really low month. And so that really does help the ups and downs. But that takes a little while to get into the groove, but you can still budget even with an inconsistent income. All right, the second excuse I hear is I'm just not disciplined enough and I just never do a good job. So this does happen if you feel like, okay, I've tried a budget once or twice and it just hasn't worked for me because I'm not good at keeping up with it. Then you need to put some things in your life, some routines that help create discipline. So this is why I do love the EveryDollar app because it is a part of saying, hey, it's going to attach to your checking account and a part of your life and your rhythm would be to check in on your budget and be tracking your transactions that when you spend money so that you can keep up with how much you have in each category. So it is kind of like learning a new tool, if you will. It is kind of this idea of I'm going to have to learn this new set of skills and put something new in my routine. But when you do that, the discipline comes, I promise you. And so I do love EveryDollar because it keeps you organized. And again, when you have EveryDollar Premium, then you're able to attach it to your bank account. And it is so helpful to stay on budget and to keep up with everything. So I really recommend getting that. All right, number 3 is I can't get my spouse on board. So this is a really hard one because if you are a household and you guys are functioning together, but one spouse doesn't want to follow a budget and the other one does, this can get really hard. So what I would say first and foremost is do what you can. So it's probably not going to be perfect if your spouse doesn't come on board. So give yourself that grace. But then also ask yourself the bigger questions. Okay, if they don't want to get on board with this specific thing with money, are we on board together and do we see eye to eye on money in general? And then that kind of opens the question of where else do we might not see eye to eye? Okay, well, maybe that's why these conflicts are happening, or this is why I'm feeling fear over here. And then it actually starts getting into more of your marriage, which is what money does. It is like this little thing you pull at the string of money, and then down below, it's like, oh gosh, there's things happening in my marriage. It's not just that my spouse doesn't want to budget. There could be other things happening. And so start digging into those things because the more you can align on with your spouse when it comes to life, then your pathway, I really do think, is smoother. There's something about it of saying, okay, I'm locked in with this person. Doesn't mean you're never going to have fights. You're never going to have conflict. It's not that. But you actually know how to respond to these things because you're on the same team, because you guys are working towards the same goals. So when you see that as your marriage, then money is just one of those topics that fits right in there. And so one spouse is probably going to be very excited about the budget. The other one may not be as excited, and that's okay. But the idea that you guys are working together is huge. But if your spouse will not do it, budget where you can and get control where you can. All right, before we talk about income levels next, I do want to tell you about one of our sponsors, Delete Me. If you don't remove your personal data from the internet, it's basically like a billboard with your name, your address, your email, even your kids' names that are out there on sketchy data broker websites. And then they sell your data, and that puts you at risk for scams and fraud. But the good news is that Delete Me removes your data and helps protect you from phishing, harassment, and other online threats. Winston and I use Delete Me, and it saves us so much time and worry. So you guys, your family's safety and financial security are way too important to leave exposed. So sign up for Delete Me and take control. Go to joindeleteme.com/Rachel for 20% off, bringing your monthly cost to under $9. Or you can just click the link in the description. All right, number 4 is all about income levels. I've heard this. Oh, we make so much money. It's fine. It's fine. Like, we have made it. We are older. We are fine. We don't need a budget. Or I just don't make enough money to budget. So both ends of the spectrum. No. I don't care how much money you make. You need to be budgeting. If you make a lot of money, you want to get to the point in your life where you're like, okay, that's great. I don't have to worry about every little thing, right? That's beautiful. You have margin. It's wonderful. But you still have to have a plan. You still have to know where your money's going. You don't want to get sloppy when it comes to this. Don't do that. And then also, if you're like, oh, I just don't have enough money to budget. No, you should be budgeting. You should want your income to go as far as possible and do the things you want to do. So I don't do this. Someone said that to me one time. They were like, oh, I just, I work too hard just to like nickel and dime everything. Like, it's going to be fine. And I'm like, man, listen, there is something that you have responsibility, especially if you're making a good income. You have responsibility to manage it well. I really believe that as a person and a human being. So do your part. Budget well. If you make a lot of money or you don't make a lot of money, everyone needs to be budgeting. All right, number 5, I've tried and it just didn't work for me. So everyone kind of has their unique situation, things in their life. They're like, yeah, budgeting just isn't my thing. Or like, it's not for me. Listen, if you do not have a plan for your money, you guys, you're going to get to every April when you do your taxes and you're going to think, that was a good amount of money. I worked hard. I have no clue where it went. I don't know what's happening, but I'm going to just keep living life. Don't do that, because honestly, that mindset of people that I talk to on the Ramsey Show that are 59 and they're wanting to retire and they have no money saved because they just kind of went through life. So I'm not saying you have to be obsessive about this. It's not something that's like, okay, my every waking moment I have to be thinking about money. No, it's not that. But you need to put rhythms in your life that allow you to be a whole, healthier person. And money is a part of life that we cannot escape. So what is a way that you can put some rhythms that you're like, yes, I do have control. I do know what is happening. And again, you might be more of a free spirit, but don't let that be an excuse not to budget and not to have a plan, because you work too hard for the income you make for it to be wasted. All right, like I said, I can't force you to budget. I really want to. The control freak in me is like, I want to tell you exactly what to do with all of your money. But listen, I do want to help you though. I want to hold your hand if I can and teach you the habit of budgeting and what I have done in my life, because I am a free spirit and a natural spender. So make sure to check out the episode, Create Your First Budget in 5 Simple Steps. Click here to check that out. Or if you're listening on podcast, I will leave a link below. All right, you guys, remember to take control of your money and create a life you love. Well, we all know that social media is a breeding ground for comparison, but my hot take is that this doesn't always have to be a bad thing. So today we're going to talk about how to turn your social media comparison spiral into financial progress. And speaking of using the internet strategically, make sure to share this video with a friend who needs to know this hack when it comes to comparison, and make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a future episode. All right, even though this mindset applies to any season, I really start thinking about comparison because different points of the year create vacation mode, and spring break is coming. And so again, we all know that like during Christmas, you're going to see certain things on your feed around Christmas. Maybe it's Christmas morning and all the gifts that the family bought the kids, or maybe it's a ski trip, or maybe it's spring break and everyone's going to the beach, or maybe it's in the summer and you're watching some family you don't even know, like traveling around Europe. Maybe it's, I don't know what it is. But whenever it comes to specifically, I think travel, it creeps up, and it seems like a lot of people nationwide have that same season consistently around their calendar. So right now, that is creeping up because of spring break. Now, the belief that, well, everyone is just having more fun than we are, or every family that I know is closer than ours, these lies that we start to believe because of pictures we see on social media, we have to be careful. The stories we tell ourselves are not always true, because the truth is, you guys, we have no way of knowing the reality behind those pictures, behind those closed doors of those families. Unless you're really good friends with them and you really, really, really know them, we are making snap judgment calls on what is going on in their lives, and we don't know the truth. So here are 4 ways to reset your comparison spiral and use it to better yourself financially. You ready? Number 1, you don't know the whole story. It's kind of what we just mentioned, but it is so true. And I'll be honest, I used to be so judgmental. Someone would go on a great trip and I'd be like, I want to go on that trip. They're probably just using a credit card and going into debt for it. Like I would sit there and just like judge them. And listen, I don't do that anymore. Okay. I'm just like, cause it's just, I don't know. I don't know. And also it's none of my business to know most of these people. I'm like, I don't know how they got on that trip. Could they have used credit cards? Sure. Could they have saved up for a whole year and splurged to take their family on a bucket list trip? Sure. I don't know. And so again, the truth is that us sitting there making up assumptions in our head, it's not going to be good for us. It's not. What I've learned to do is just celebrate people. Be like, good for them. Good for them. And then go back to minding my own business. I tell my kids all the time, you're not in charge. You have a full-time job taking care of you. Just take care of you. Don't take care of everybody else. Take care of you. That's what I tell myself. Sometimes, Rachel, stop trying to take care of everybody else and figuring out what everyone else is doing, all their business. No, just take care of you. Put the blinders on. And I'm telling you, it brings so much more peace. The second thing is to turn that feeling of comparison into a goal. And so it is very human to want things that you don't have, right? So that desire pops up. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a great trip. Now, when envy creeps in, jealousy, resentment, even anger towards this person, that is where things get really, really negative. And that's what we don't want. And so instead of that, maybe being like, okay, instead of like just dying for their whole life and them being so sad about my life and oh my gosh, woe is me, actually be like, hey, that actually looks like a great trip. Maybe we can create a goal around that. And maybe that is something I really do want to do and experience. So let's make that a goal and then actually shoot for something, right? Because I mean, I do think social media can give you some great ideas of like where to go, especially with travel. It's like, oh, well, that looks like a fun hotel. Let's make it a goal. And then if it's just like so unrealistic, because there's some people out there, it's like they just feel like they have endless amounts of money and you're like, oh, well, we could never afford that. Then maybe understand that reality, but then find something else in that area or a different place to stay or whatever it may look like. But again, creating this instead of like a comparison that turns an envy, resentment route, be grateful for what you have. And one thing that really keeps track for me to be grateful is writing things down. And a few years ago, I launched my contentment journal and I want to share it with you guys. So I'll put a link down below. So make sure to check it out. These also make great gifts, which I love, but it really walks through this practice of getting in a rhythm of gratitude and generosity and contentment ultimately. All right, before I share the rest, I do want to tell you about one of our sponsors, Delete Me. We spend so much of our lives online and we're on social media like we're talking about here, but we're also shopping and banking and everything we do seems to be on the internet these days. And so are our names and addresses and work history and phone numbers and email addresses and so much more. And they're out there for bad guys to exploit. So we need to protect ourselves. And that is why I love Delete Me. It is so great. Delete Me finds and removes your information from hundreds of data broker websites that buy, sell, and trade your personal data. So take care and take control of your online privacy today and find peace of mind with Delete Me. Individual Delete Me plans start as low as $9 a month. So sign up today at joindeleteme.com/Rachel for 20% off or click the link in the description. All right, number 3, when comparison starts to creep in, understand that real joy is found in community. The things that money can't buy, you guys, that is where a lot of joy of life is. And that could be your spiritual life, that could be your health, but also your relationships. And so understanding that like having real people in your lives that know you and love you, this can be friends, a spouse, but having real life people, not just people through a phone, know you and walk with you, like there is joy in that money cannot buy. And so if it looks like another family is having like more fun just because they're at this bougie destination, you know, they may be having fun and they may have some joy there, but you can also experience a level of joy in that because usually their joy is coming because of the family around them, not always because of the destination. And so if you're not able to travel to that fancy destination, find ways to be with people in your life that you love and cash in on that joy. You know, invite a friend and go on a walk. You know, have some people over to your house this Friday night and like play games or have, you know, your cousins over for brunch after church. Like whatever that looks like create an environment where you are with people because there's a level of joy and community that money cannot buy. And then I would say number 4 is to have patience. If you rush that fancy vacation by overspending and going into debt, you're going to end up being so stressed that you may not even enjoy it. The stress outweighs the joy that you were trying to create. So wait until you can do all of this wisely, and trust me, it is so much better. Have the patience. You will get there one day. There's something about saying, I'm going to wait for that thing, because the truth is too, a year later, you may not even want to go there, right? So there is something about that delayed gratification that is so key, and practicing contentment in that patience. It takes time and intentionality, but that contentment, that peace that you have in your heart over time, it creates something in your life that, again, we're going back to this, but it's true, that money can't buy, that peace of mind. So being patient with yourself is a huge way to combat comparison. Now, another way to healthily compare is to know how you stack up to the national average. So make sure to check out my episode, How Do Your Monthly Expenses Compare to the Average American? You can click here, or if you're listening on podcast, I will put a link down below. All right, guys, happy traveling. And remember to take control of your money and create a life you love. I recently saw an article with 10 things that used to be free and aren't anymore. So we're going to go through that list and rate them on the most annoying to not. And let me know your thoughts in the comments as we go. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend. So I'm going to rate these 1 to 10, 10 being the most annoying and frustrating, and 1 being somewhat understandable. First up is air. That's right. You used to not have to pay to put air in your tires. You go to the gas station, they'd have it there, and you just go. And now it's like a coin machine. You got to have some stuff, or even a couple of bucks to fix your tire pressure, where before air was free. Not anymore. It's kind of funny because you're paying for air, but also it's not that big of a deal. So I'm going to be like a 3 on my annoyance scale. Number 2, the news. Yes, I grew up with, the newspapers and all of that. You could either watch the nightly news or the newspapers. But now, thanks to the internet, you could get news anytime, anywhere. And so for a good bit of time, the news was just free on the internet. And now if you go to certain news outlets like the New York Times and the Washington Post, all of that, there's usually a paywall. You can only read so far down, and then it stops and says you have to have a subscription. And so they charge you a subscription fee, which makes sense because the actual, I know they need to make money because they used to make money on newspapers, and now that's like a thing that is in the past. I understand it, but also it's kind of annoying where you're like, okay, I want to read this article, and now I got to pay for my news. My annoyance scale, it's pretty high, y'all. I'm going to go 7. I don't know. I mean, I know you can get a lot of things for free, but if there is a great article out there that we need to know about in the world, I don't want to pay for it. So I'm going to say that. Number 3, airline extras. This is tough. So some flights, they may be cheaper, but so many of the amenities and other things are not included in the price. So checked bags, even some charge for carry-ons, and flight snacks or beverages, and flight entertainment. The list goes on. And so it is kind of frustrating. And I'm gonna put this at a frustrating number. I am gonna say 9. I don't know why this bothers me so much. You pay for a ticket, and there is a level of service that you kind of just expect. And when they nickel and dime you for everything, I get very annoyed. So I don't like that one. Number 4, food delivery. You guys, pizza delivery used to be free, and then you would just tip on top of that. That's what it was. But now everything when it comes to delivery, because of app culture, and there's so many restaurants now delivering all of it, they tack on a delivery fee plus the tip. So this is a real thing. Now, I'm not going to be as annoyed with this one because there is a part of me you're paying for the convenience. So I'm going to give it a 2. It doesn't bother me as much because you know what you're paying for. But also, pizza delivery used to be free. Now, the next item on the list will blow you away, but first, I have to tell you about Delete Me, which is one of our sponsors for today. So if you don't remove your personal data from the internet, it's basically like a billboard out there with your name, your address, your email, even your kids' names, and they're out there on sketchy data broker websites. And those data brokers then collect your data, then they sell it, make money off of you, and then that puts you at risk for scams and fraud. But the good news is that Delete Me removes your data to help protect you from phishing, harassment, and other online threats. Winston and I use Delete Me, and it saves us a ton of time and worry. So you guys, your family's safety and financial security they're way too important to leave exposed. So sign up for Delete Me and take control. Go to joindeleteme.com/Rachel for 20% off, bringing your monthly cost to under $9. Or you can click the link in the description. All right, number 5, plastic bags. Yeah, did you know that some states have banned the use of plastic bags in an effort to reduce environmental damage? And since then, it's become more normal to charge a couple of quarters for a single bag. And Europeans have been charging for shopping carts, baskets, and bags for decades. But America, we're kind of getting there now. So, yeah, paying for a bag, that's pretty annoying, in my opinion. I don't know why. I just expect, like, if you're buying something from the retailer, they'll give you a bag to put the things you bought from them in. So, yeah, I mean, annoyance, I would say maybe an 8, because if you weren't preparing for it, because not all stores do that, it's like, oh my gosh, I have to, like, carry all this stuff out. I may not have enough if I buy a ton. All right, number 6 is banking. So when the Card Act was passed in 2009, banks started charging fees just for keeping your money in a checking account. And since then, we have seen an increase in service fees, overdraft fees, ATM fees, all of it. So yeah, I mean, this is like kind of one of those things they just nickel and dime you all the way. And I don't like this one either. I'm going to go have a lot of annoyance in this whole list. I mean, I'm going to say like an 8 or a 9, because part of me is like, you're giving someone your business. And so there are services that, I don't know, to me, I'm like, yeah, I expect that. Like, if you want me to keep my money in your bank, I should be able to use an ATM to get my money out, because I'm going to be putting more money back in your bank that you're using my money to go and lend out and make a ton of money off of my money is really how it works. So I'm annoyed by it. I'm going to go 8. Number 7, water. So at some restaurants, you have to specify that you want tap water, or automatically they may bring you a bottle of still or sparkling, and that will get tacked onto your bill. And this is very common in big cities if you're traveling around the U.S. and outside the U.S. as well. This one doesn't annoy me as much. I'm going to go 2, because if you are getting a bottle of water, like, or a glass bottle or sparkling, like, yeah, like there's a part of me that I'm like, yeah, that's probably a nicer quality of water than just from the tap. But you do have to specify, so make sure you do. But usually a great waiter or waitress is like going to ask you beforehand, so that's not a problem. Number 8, school sports. So back in the day, parents would have to cover the cost of gear and maybe a uniform. But now pay-to-play policies are requiring fees simply for students just to participate. So this puts really talented kids at a disadvantage if their parents can't afford these dues, and it has just gotten more and more expensive. The whole sports thing and youth thing, like, it kind of drives me nuts. So I'm going to go 8 out of my annoyance for this, because I think I see the heart of it. Like, I have so many friends and they talk about it so openly, but like the amount of money that some of these sports industries make off of the kids is insane. Like, it is absolutely insane. And the parents are right in the scoop of it all in the flurry and the anxiety. But then to do it on top of like just their school, especially if they like go to a public school, and it's like, yeah, like this is part of your education and your like livelihood as a youth. And now we're having to tack on more fees above that. Like, that's kind of annoying. So I'm annoyed by it. I'm going to go 8. Number 9, hotel amenities. So resort fees have become more popular over the past couple of decades, covering things like the pool and gym use, newspaper delivery. Looky there, we're back to the news. And there's also processing fees, very common now, which can bump your total price up by like $100 or more. And some hotels have even added an Airbnb style cleaning fee to the bill, which is wild. So yeah, I mean, it is crazy. Anytime we book a hotel and you like see the price of the room, and then when you get to the final paying, I mean lines, y'all. I mean, seriously, 4 to 5 lines, including taxes, but it's just like all of this that gets added on. And it's wild. And I think they can just do it, right? And I get why some of it, I mean, part of it, there's, especially if you're staying at a nicer hotel, there's going to be nicer amenities and all of that. Like, I guess I get it. I'm going to go 5 here. It is kind of annoying. I'm going to go 6. I'm going to go 6. Like, middle of the road annoyed, but like a little bit more than that. So we'll go 6. All right, number 10, directory assistance. So you used to be able to dial 411 to get someone's phone number, but now Verizon charges $1.99 for directory assistance. Okay, I didn't even know this existed. I'm going to give it a 1. This doesn't bother me in my life at all, because why would you not just Google it? I don't know. This one I don't get, but it is funny that it's a service. So yeah, if you're paying for that service, don't pay for that service. Just Google. So times are changing, you guys. It just does feel like life is getting more and more expensive, and you may not be able to control how the hotel is going to spend their money after you pay all those fees, but you can always control the money that you spend. And so making sure that you have a budget, that you are in control of your money is key, and Every Dollar is the best budgeting app out there. So I'll put a link down below to check it out. But if you're not budgeting, you need to have control of your money. And some people are taking this shift to the extreme. So make sure to check out 11 items frugal people are not buying anymore. So I'll put a link down below. All right, you guys, remember to take control of your money and create a life you love. So today I have Nero Feliciano on the show, and I'm so excited about this, you guys. She was on with me a few months ago, and she's absolutely incredible. She's a psychotherapist, and the way that she processes when it comes to relationships and even anxiety, boundaries, all the things, she just brings such incredible tactical wisdom to our lives. And I love her personally. So the fact that we got to sit down and have this conversation, I was so excited about, because with her, I really wanted to dive into relationships and money. And so we're going to talk all through friendships, kids and money, spouses, all the above. So make sure to like, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend. And here's our conversation. Welcome back.
Thank you.
I know. Thanks for being back. And so last time you were on, we talked about the holidays and all of that. But now I really want to dive in with you during this time to talk about money and relationships, because I mean, I'm not kidding how many questions I get either via social media or on the Ramsey Show, so much around relationships and money. And this could be adult kids talking about their parents, marriage, their own kids. I mean, fiancés, it's just all over the place. Money is just this hot button topic for people. And some people find it really hard to talk about anyways. Okay, why? I think I have my reasons, but yours are probably way better from from a therapist standpoint though. But for why is money, it seems like such a sore subject. And maybe you can lump religion in there, sex in there too. I mean, I think there's hard subjects everywhere, but money for some reason is a weird one.
Well, I sat and thought about this on a deeper level, because I was thinking about it. Okay, why is it so hard to talk about? Why is it something that we have questions about all the time, but we don't necessarily voice them? Money is so intricately tied to identity, right? And that's why it gets so personal.
Yes.
And you look at just two examples of people who grew up with money, people who did not. It shapes the lens in how we see the world, in what we think is possible, in our self-worth, in how we feel validated, and also what we think of in terms of possibilities that are even in the realm of possibility for each individual, and it can be drastically different depending on your views about money and how you grew up. We also attach a set of beliefs to money, right? So say you look at someone with a lot of money, all of a sudden there's certain beliefs that are attached to that person.
That's so true. A stereotype about them.
Stereotype, right? And people who don't have money. And especially if you look at people who have gone from not having money to having money, they often feel like an identity crisis, right? They feel like they don't know who they are. And all of a sudden people think differently about them. They treat them differently. So there's so many layers to that. Why is it so complicated?
Yes.
But I think those are some of the components. Yes.
Okay, do you think, because I say this sometimes, so no pressure, you can say I'm wrong. But I'll say a lot of times in some of our events, if I have to contrast the two, I always tell people, or I always use the example of money's not a scorecard. It's not your identity. It can't be, because if it is, then we end up twisted into all these other things. But it's a tool. Like it is a thing in our lives that's there. Some people have more of this, a bigger tool, some people not as much, but we get to use that tool for our lives. And I almost try to take out that level of identity, because I think I see it being so disruptive.
Right.
But as you were talking, I was like, okay, it is so tied to our identity, but is that always, do you think is that a bad thing? Should it be? Should it not be? I don't know, from a therapist standpoint. Oh. Do you have an opinion about it?
Yeah, I don't think it should be.
Okay.
But I think it is for many people.
Yes,
and I think the way you described it is a healthy use of money, a healthy perception of
Thank
money.
God. Yeah. I was like, man, maybe it really is.
No. I think that's the goal, right?
Yes.
That's the goal, that it isn't.
Yes.
It's a tool, but it has become very much tied to identity. And again, I mean, we talked a little bit about social media on the last episode.
Yeah.
But I think that's a piece of it too, because our lives have become so performative. Right?
100%.
So it is very clear to see who has money and who doesn't. You know, and it doesn't mean that those who don't aren't offering something incredible, even on social media, right?
No. Right, totally.
Not to say, but
well, what's so messed up is the people that look like they have it may not even have it.
That's exactly right.
You know what I mean? So then you have this perception of like everybody must be doing great.
Yes.
And
everyone's
I'm the only one struggling
for the summer and staying these amazing places. How is this happening?
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah. No, you're right.
God.
It's a false perception.
So the one relationship that I feel like I talk about the most and see the most when it comes to money is marriage.
Yes.
And so it is always, money's always in the top of the top 5, top 3. Sometimes it's the number 1 reason of separation and divorce.
It's usually number 1.
Yes, in America, yes. And so when we look at that, and again, here at Ramsey, I think because we're like in it so much and we hear so many issues and people's problems, we like quickly can identify, majority of the time, it's not a money problem. It's a marriage problem.
It is,
and it's coming out as a money problem. But what causes, what do you think, that tension point? Does it go back because it's our identity and we are usually so opposite as spouses? Or why do you think it is always the number 1 reason?
I think, again, multifactorial, right?
Sure.
And we can start with family of origin, our beliefs about money, how were we raised? Were we raised in that scarcity mindset or an abundance mindset? And then whatever that looked like, that becomes our normal. That's our baseline.
Yes.
So all of a sudden we think, okay, this is the way it is. This is the way the world works. And then we marry somebody or we're in a relationship with somebody who has totally opposite beliefs.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, because there is that piece that's tied to identity, or at least our beliefs and how we see the world, someone's telling us you're wrong. That's not how it is. That isn't how it works.
It's very threatening.
It's very
scary.
threatening, and it feels very personal, especially if money triggers anxiety. That person becomes a huge trigger for our discomfort, and it affects. We have to deal with it every day, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So it's a constant. And then we also have the fact that different people have different goals when it comes to money, different hopes, and that may be reflected in our values too. So we're talking about things that are deeply personal, deeply psychological. So when we put them on the table, there's a lot of vulnerability there.
Yes.
And if it's not met with encouragement and empathy and understanding, which how many times we have money conversations where that's a part of the equation?
Totally.
Right?
Yep.
It can feel very intense.
Yes.
Very intense, brings up all the intense emotions, anger, hurt, sadness. And ultimately, in the end of it, we might walk away feeling like, you don't understand me.
Yes.
And then we go back to this idea of scarcity, but not in the sense of, the way we often talk about it, but people having those conversations feeling like, I'm not enough, or I don't do enough. Or maybe you don't do enough. That's what my feeling is about you. So, I mean, all of those things.
It's super
heightened
messy.
Emotions and complex.
Yes.
So unless we have those tools to just have these conversations in general about anything in the marriage, unless we have them, they're especially needed when it comes to the topic of money.
Yes.
So,
So interesting, because it is always, it's kind of what you said, but I think it is so true. It's always rooted to something deeper, right? And so it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you bought the name brand toilet paper from Costco. Why did you spend 15 more when we could? Oh my,
That's right.
And it's like, what is like, and what I
is
found
it about the toilet paper?
That's
really?
right, exactly.
Right.
Yes, and so and it's all of marriage, and I feel like Winston and I are not perfect by any means, but one thing we have been working on so much is not being like, well, I can't believe you did X, Y, and Z, but to really try to, and it doesn't always work. It's not always perfect, but to try to understand like what made, I call it whooshing, where you're like,
yes,
whoosh.
yes.
I'm like,
I
just whooshed. I was like, oh my gosh, that just made me like,
that should be a term.
I know, whoosh, I know, we're whooshing.
Describes it well.
But I'm like, if that ever comes through me, and I'm such an urgent person, so I immediately want to start verbalizing.
Yep.
But just to take a beat and be like, okay, what was that?
Yeah.
Why? Like, and can I do any self-reflection, like down to the root cause? And I think when you do that,
so healthy.
Well, and it doesn't always happen. But
it.
Also the scary thing is when you find that, and if it's kind of a new revelation of like, oh my gosh, I never thought I was insecure about that, or fill in the blank, to then bring that to another person. To your point, you pray that it is met with empathy and understand, and more questions to be asked, curiosity, that type of bent, which my spouse is Winston's wonderful in that way, but for anybody, that's even scarier, right? It's almost easier to blame the toilet paper.
That's right. Then deal with your own stuff.
Yes, yeah. So how much is that, right? When that conflict arises in marriage, how much of it is our stuff versus there are situations where we get crazy calls sometimes of like, oh, my husband took out all the money from the 401k and now we have no money. And you're like, okay, that's crazy. Of course you're going to be afraid. Yeah. Yes. So not the extremes, but more that like kind of middle ground.
So important because it doesn't just come out in money. It comes out everywhere.
Yes.
The root is the same. The manifestation of the root takes various forms, right? And money is one of those forms. We may see it more clearly because it has such a direct impact on our daily life and our bigger picture life. But we have to sit there and see what is coming up right now as I'm having this conversation. And even questions like, why do I feel like it's important to buy that toilet paper, right? And what else am I doing that is similar in the same vein where whatever it is that your spouse is not in agreement. So, and part of why that is so good is I always say when you go into a conversation, especially in marriage, you got to own your own stuff first.
Yes.
A lot of times we come in able to see perfectly what's wrong with the other person.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yes,
I mean, that
100%.
is so clear to us.
Yes.
But if we start with owning what we can own, it automatically takes defenses down.
Yes.
And that gives us more potential to have a productive conversation and come up with a solution there.
Yes, that's so good. All right, more of my conversation with Nero here in a minute, but first I do want to tell you about one of our sponsors, Christian Healthcare Ministries. More than 100 million Americans carry medical debt, which shows traditional coverage often leaves people to face big bills alone. Families need more than coverage. They need community. And that's why I love Christian Healthcare Ministries, a budget-friendly, faith-based alternative to health insurance. There are no networks, no insurance headaches, and programs start at $98 a month. Go to chministries.org/budget to learn more. And you guys, when you're working the baby steps, your bank shouldn't be working against you, which is why I love Fairwinds Credit Union. They share Ramsey values like getting out of debt, saving for the future, and putting people first. Their smart checking and savings bundle was designed to line up with the baby steps. So if you're ready to move your money somewhere that supports your financial goals, Fairwinds is what you've been looking for. Just head to fairwinds.org/Ramsey to open your smart checking and savings bundle today. So with our kids, when we're thinking about our kids, people ask me a lot, like, oh my gosh, how do I teach my kids about money? And what do I tell them about situations? And we were just talking about right before this that, I always use this phrase, share but don't scare.
I love that.
And so you do have to be like really discerning of what that is for each kid, right? Because it's not really even an age thing, but emotionally, like what can they handle? So what would you say to a family that they're maybe financially they're going through like a hardship, and they're at this point where they're like, we're going to have to make some hard decisions. Our lifestyle's going to have to change some. Or maybe they have been quote unquote fine, but maybe they're trying to get out of debt. And they're like, listen, we're going to sacrifice our lifestyle in order to do this. But if there's changes with money, and more in a quote unquote like negative way, more taking away for the kids' lifestyle, how do you approach that with your kids? How would you say to have these conversations?
Because you want them to be mindful. And I think it depends on the age of the kid and the developmental readiness to have these conversations. And really what that reflects is how much detail are we going to share, right?
Yes, that's right,
If they're a really young kid, you might not want to talk about the fact that you just got laid off yesterday, right? Whereas an older kid might be able to handle it. But I think at the end of the day, any conversation that has potential to affect kids emotionally, you want to start with where they're at and what they know. So maybe they've already seen changes. Maybe they've seen a parent around all the time. Asking questions is good. What do you think about what you're seeing right now at home? But I think it's important to be transparent about that. And you want them to understand, especially as they're going into adulthood, there are changes that are going to happen in life and we can adapt to those changes, right? It's not the end of the world. You want to reassure them that certain things are not going to change. So you might want to start with that even. We're together as a family. There's amazing things that we're going to do. We're going to have fun. These are the things that we're going to continue to do. we may have to make changes when it comes to, whatever it is. I mean, for some families, it's, just basic discretionary spending. We're not going to Starbucks every week or whatever it is that they do.
Totally.
But that's okay. And there might be a time where we can do that again.
Yes.
But for now, we're going to all do this together as a family.
Yes.
Maybe there is that financial goal. Maybe there's a financial reward at the end of it too, where they can look ahead to say, if we do this now, then we can look forward to this in the future.
Yeah. And what that does too is when you do have to, whether it's your own choosing or not, pull back on some of just the quote unquote spending and stuff, it almost declutters, right, in a sense, your life and what you've been doing. And then you can kind of actually get back to this root of family and connection and all of this. So with that side, more of like that emotional side of life and money, our kids walk through so much like comparison. They see, and I know that like I had some of this even in high school, and I hate to like compare generations, but I'm like, mine was like a $15 Abercrombie t-shirt or something.
We talk about this all the time.
And now it's like, $79.
Crazy.
Yoga pants from, or whatever
Trips
it is.
to Sephora when they're 10 years old,
Yes. It's just, it seems like more expensive and bigger even now for the kids today. So for parents, how do you parent in today's world? I can talk all day about budgeting and like all of that, but like when it comes to like the heart issues and all of that, how do you coach parents in that?
Number one, you have to model it. You have to look at the messaging in your household. You're telling them not to compare. They don't have to have everything, but are you trying to keep up with everybody around you? Are you talking about what that person looks like or what they have?
Yeah, the conversations, can I tell you? That's what's wild. What they pick up on. I know I always heard that. People are like, oh my gosh, your kids pick up on everything. Now, unbelievable. So I think your conversation, what you're saying, they are assuming you're valuing that. If that's what you talk about.
Model it. This was what my first book was about. This book won't make you happy. It was all about contentment.
Yes.
And comparison is big in that realm, right? It takes us away from contentment really fast.
100%.
But I think that's a piece of it. And the other thing is comparison, in some ways it's gotten a bad rap. There is a psychological process called a heuristic that utilizes comparison in a very healthy way.
In a good way,
yes. Us to make decisions, right?
Totally.
But the problem is we're always doing what's called upward social comparison, not downward. So we're always looking at people who have more, do more, are better, but not the reverse. And this is also where I think volunteer and service is so important as a family and for your kids. And I'll give you an example. When I took my daughter to college recently, as you know, we walked into a room. It was tiny, Rachel. This room was tiny. And not
only is she sharing it
she's
too?
Sharing with someone else.
Yes.
But the bathroom is in their room and it's attached to a triple. And those girls have to come into their room to use a bathroom. So I was looking at it like, oh my gosh, and trying not, trying to be positive about it. Like it's so tiny. I was like, it's small. And she goes, Mom, like, I've done ASP. That's the Appalachian Service Project. She and my husband and her brother go every year. And she's like, I've seen how those people live. Like, this is fine. This is fine. She said that to me.
Unbelievable.
So it gets in their psychology. You have to expose them to other things other than the bubble that they're living in.
Yes.
And that makes a difference. It makes a difference.
Oh my gosh.
It's a good use of comparison.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. Okay, I love the upward. I've never heard that though.
Yes.
The upward comparison. That's so true though. Because I always kind of take it in the negative.
Sure.
Because it's that. But versus, that's so good.
And the upward can inspire us, right?
100%. Yes. Yeah. And there's always still a level of, and I wish I remember who wrote this. Sorry, author, that I'm not going to quote you on. Of like it's natural, like even tribe instinct of like, where do I, just from like a survival standpoint, right? So there's a part of it that's just so innate, but it's when it gets excessive.
Yeah.
And when we start driving our own decisions because of everyone else, right? Like there starts to be a point. Okay, so let's talk about another relationship, friends. So this is like, it's a different world, I feel like a little bit too, as we talked about like what our kids are growing up in, but even today. So I hear from people a lot of like, I'm in a wedding and I have a bachelorette party and I have, or a trip, not even a party, I'm going on a trip. It's a trip. It's a trip. These showers and all this, it's like the wedding expenses. And then, you can have the babies. I'm at the age, I'm going to show my age, it's like the 40th, birthdays are happening. And they've been happening for a few years, like with this span. But
there are trips with those too.
Now there's trips, yes. Yep. The 50, it's just, I think they're going to people 30 now or I don't know. It's just, it feels like there's a lot of money being spent. And it's wonderful and fun if you have the ability to do it. But when you look at your budget and you're like, I can't be in 4 of my friends' weddings to do X, Y, and Z, or I can't fly to this city because my best friend's having her baby.
That's right.
You know, whatever it looks like, friendship seems to be costing more and more.
And so friendships are expensive sometimes.
Right.
Yes.
So, and I know obviously if you have a great friend, my prayer is that people have the friends that if you say I can't do it, that they, number one, understand, number two, maybe find a workaround, or, you know, whatever. Like, that's a perfect scenario. But if people are in relationships with other people, friendships, and they feel like, I don't know how I'm going to say no to this, that friend is not going to be happy. Even they feel guilty, you know, maybe for not going. How do we navigate friendships when there is such a big price tag these days?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question because we're seeing it everywhere.
Yes.
And I mean, one thing you said, I hope people have these great friendships so they can say no. If it is a great friendship, they will understand.
Yes.
And if it's not, why are you spending all this money on that person who's not going to understand? You know, and I think this is the point where a lot of friendships change.
Yes.
And a lot of friendships end. I mean, I've seen so many people who are no longer friends after the wedding because of all of the bride's expectations and when they were not met and the fallout from that.
Yes.
So you have to, and friendships change every 7 years. You know, we're going to gain friends, lose friends.
Wasn't there like a 7-year marriage itch for a while? Wasn't that like the thing with marriage too? Yes.
We're both over that.
But friendship, But friendship has a 7-year cycle.
Because we change and we evolve and we may not connect as deeply with friends if they're not evolving in the same direction that we are, you know, and if our friendship was based on things that ultimately are not that consequential, you know, as you get older. So I think if you are uncomfortable saying no, maybe take a read of who else is going and have that conversation with someone else and say, you know, I don't think I can do this. Yeah. And I'd really want to do it, but I can't do it. Yeah. That's a perfectly nice, kind way that you can bring it up to someone and say, I love you so much and I want to be there and do this, but financially it's going to be a lot for me. Yeah. I would love to participate in this. I'm not going to be able to do this.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And if they're a great friend, amazing. And if they're not, maybe that's when you realize, hey, all right, well, then I'm justified in not investing this.
Yes.
Sometimes it's not wanting to feel left out. Right? So that may not be a great friend, but the FOMO is real.
Yes, yes.
And that's a deeper issue then that you have to deal with because that's going to affect other areas of your life as well. Yeah. But I think it's always easier if there is one person in the group who you can share that with. And usually you're not the only one
that's feeling that way.
That's not. And I think we just have to give people permission to say, you can say no. It's okay.
Totally.
This is a lot to put on people, especially with the way life costs in general.
100%.
To add on top of this.
I know. It is. Like, these questions that I'll get sometimes from people in like scenarios, which that's one thing I love about social media. Is that, like, people like let you into their life and they're like, hey, what do you think about this? Yeah. I'm not able to get to all of them, but you read them, and sometimes I'm like, I just want to give you a hug because Sarah is terrible. That's like, you know, this friend that's like making you feel X, Y, and Z because you have to say no.
Horrible. Right.
But it's more common than I think. I think I do live in like a friendship bubble probably. But it feels like, it feels so real for people. Yeah. And it's really sad because I think that's the point too, is you kind of can get to this point with a person and you hate that money is the quote unquote reason. But like we said, even with the marriage, it's not even, the money's the filter at which you're seeing it. But that person doesn't really value you.
No, I know. And I think, you know, as you get older, hopefully you have more friends because you've learned along the way who will have your back in those situations and will understand. But I mean, I've been on both sides of the equation. There are times where I say, I'm not doing that. You know, I can't do that right now. Yes. And then I've had people also say, hey, you know what, that's pricey. And in that situation, the friends are good friends. We look for other things that we can do.
That's right.
Right? Yes. And that's a perfectly reasonable expectation to have if they are your good friends.
Yes.
Right? Or they will not be offended if they are good friends. Yeah. And if they are going to be offended, and if they are going to leave you out, and if they are going to treat you badly because of it, maybe it's time to invest your time and energy in other relationships.
Somewhere else. Yeah. Say bye to Sarah.
Right.
We need to get rid of her.
Might not need Sarah anymore.
We may not want her anymore. Well, thanks for coming back.
Thank you.
I know. This was so fun. I just love, seriously, all your wisdom. You're incredible.
And yours too.
Oh, well, thank you. I don't know. You have a lot, though. It's great. Okay, and where can people want to see more of you? Where can they find you?
Well, on today.com, if you put my name in, you'll see a lot of the things that I've written about and talked about, but also on my website, neurofeliciano.com, and on Instagram.
Perfect. So great. All right. Well, you guys make sure to check out everything that she's doing, and we'll put some of those links down below. Now, be sure to check out the episode I did with Neuro when we talked all about holidays and when it comes to boundaries and having margin, all the things. So make sure to click right here to watch that. Or if you're listening on podcast, I will leave a link below. All right, you guys, remember to take control of your money and create a life you love. Well, hey, you guys. So listen, there is a lot of conflicting advice out there on what you should be doing with your money. But over the years, I have narrowed it down to a list, or really a mindset, if you will, of different shifts that really have significant difference when it comes to your money. So today, I'm sharing 6 of those financial lessons that have changed my life. And before we jump in, just a friendly reminder to hit that like or subscribe button if you love this content and you want to see more of it. And be sure to stick around to the end of the list and let me know if there's any lessons that have helped you that I didn't mention, and put them in the comments. All right, here we go. Lesson number 1, track your expenses. Okay, so we talk about having a budget all the time because it really is one of the most important things that you can do. But listen, here's the deal. You can set a budget at the beginning of the month and then never come back to it, which is not going to help you when it comes to your money. Because just because you have a number out there, but you don't know what you're spending in each category, your budget's not going to work. So tracking your expenses throughout the month, it can seem daunting. It may seem like a lot of work, but it's honestly one of the best ways to succeed with the budget. And if you have not checked out EveryDollar, our budgeting app, make sure to do that, because with EveryDollar Premium, you can actually attach your bank account to it. So your transactions come right into the app and you can drag and drop them per category to keep up with the budget. But whether you do that or you're just doing it on your own, make sure that you know what you're spending in each category so you can actually be successful when it comes to the budget. All right, lesson number 2 is delayed gratification is key. Now, this applies to different things like sinking funds, where you save a little bit each month for something that you're wanting. Maybe this is, seeing a big purchase or something expensive that you want to buy, but you're pausing and waiting until maybe you have the money, or maybe for your emotions to die down. Whatever it is, delaying gratification is really, really key. Because here's the deal. We see so much information, so much stuff, whether in our social media feeds or, even just around with our friends. And you may think, oh, I want that. But it's so easy for your emotion to get so heightened in that. And if you go and just pull the trigger on it, whether you had the money or not, you could be making a mistake when it comes to that purchase. So waiting and actually reevaluating maybe a week later to say, okay, do I really want that? Because I even will do this and I'll just add to cart sometimes. And I'll just add a bunch of stuff. And then, a week later, go back to the website, and half the stuff that I put in the cart, I'm like, oh, I don't even like that anymore. But it was just this feeling of buying. And if I had purchased it, it would have been in my closet thinking the same thing. So let your emotions die down. Delay that gratification, whether that's emotionally or actually saving up and paying for it in full. Lesson number 3 is what you see is never the whole picture. You guys, this is so huge. I mean, the famous comparison quote is that comparison is the thief of joy. And I believe that so much, because when you see something out there and you're like, oh, look, here they are, so happy this summer, splashing around with their family at the pool, or here they all are at Christmas around the Christmas tree. That is so great. And you just see this happy, healthy person on Instagram or on Facebook with their family. And you can immediately just think, oh my gosh, I mean, they have the perfect life. Look at them. But the reality is, you guys, you have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. You really don't. And I think that's a really key thing to remember, because everybody struggles, right? Everybody has moments of suffering, and we don't put those out on social media. I mean, I guess some people might, but for the most part, if the kid is screaming, I don't have time to get my phone to show you my kid is screaming and throwing a fit. No, I'm in mom mode, right? So we don't see the 360 picture of everyone's life. We're seeing a snapshot that person is choosing to put out into the world. So just remember that. And maybe they are happy and healthy, and that's great too. So I have just learned that you have to celebrate people. If you see something and inside of you, it kind of flares up of oh my gosh, they have a more exciting life than me, or look at that thing that they have and I want it. I immediately go to like, good for them. Good for them. That is great. Whether it's a complete lie that they put out, but I'll never know the truth, right? You just celebrate people and move on, because the truth is you have a choice in your own life. And are you actually going to celebrate it and enjoy the life that you have presently? Or are you going to sit and watch everyone else's life and make assumptions about it, right? So being present in your own life, living with gratitude is so, so key. And that will help you beat the comparisons, because a heart filled with gratitude, there is no room for comparisons and discontentment, right? When you are grateful for your life, it is huge, you guys. So remember, what you see is not always the whole picture. Lesson number 4 is your investing strategy should be boring. Listen, if there's something flashy and new and exciting when it comes to finances and you should put your money in this, it's usually going to be a gamble, okay? Because the truth is, proven foundational habits when it comes to investing, they're not going to be flashy and exciting. They're not new. So when we talk about funding 15% of your income into retirement, things like a Roth IRA and a 401k. Some people are like, oh my gosh, those are so boring. And they are. They really are. It's not exciting. It's not like crypto or like, oh my gosh, you can buy these, Nike shoes and flip them for this profit. You should put all your investment into that. Or this cool like investing things in this property over here in this new part of town that all these people are putting money in. Like, your 401k and Roth IRA are boring. They really are. But the truth is, they have a long track record. When you are investing and being smart about your investing, you're diversifying. And again, you're lowering your risk. You're not putting all your eggs in one basket, and you're putting your money in something. Again, the market is one. I would say real estate, paid for real estate is another. But it's these places in life that you put your money that have proven track records. And so they're not flashy, they're not sexy, they're not exciting, but they work. And when you're consistent in those, you're going to really get the payoff in the end. All right, lesson number 5 is I never regret spending my money on experiences. So Dr. Arthur Brooks, I will probably be quoting him a lot in the future, because what he said when it comes to spending money that actually will bring happiness, one of those is buying experiences with people that you love. And I thought, amen, hallelujah. Rachel's like knee-jerk reaction was correct and backed up by science. Thank you. But enjoying experiences, you guys, again, with people that you love, it is so key. It does bring a level of joy and happiness. And so stuff is never bad. I'm never going to tell you like, oh, don't go buy that purse or don't buy that car. If you have the money and you want to buy, things, that's okay. But the lie is when we wrap our identity and our happiness into stuff, it is shown now, scientifically proven, that it does not bring long-term happiness. But the memories and the experience with people you love, it does. So that is where I will spend money. I will spend money on a great vacation with my family, a great meal out with friends. That's where I'm like, I want to put my money there more than ever in life, where I used to be a little consumer, y'all. I'm not going to lie, back in the day. And I still do love shopping. But overall, I'm like, I would rather put my money in something that I know we're going to experience. When Winston and I built our house and we moved in 2018, is that when we moved in? No, 2019. We knew we wanted a pool eventually. Like that was one thing for our family that I was like, I want to be the house that all the teenagers come to, probably out of like fear and control. But I'm like, I want to be the fun house. And having a pool is one of those places that attracts kids and teenagers and all of it. And we've always said, we want to do this. We want to have this experience, but we couldn't afford to build one when we were building our house. So we waited. But it's been 5 years, and y'all, we have broken ground. We are on our way. So we did. We saved up for this dang pool, like freaking costs more than probably all my kids' colleges combined. And they're so expensive. But at the end of the day, it's going to be worth it. I know it is, because we're going to use it, and it's going to be fun. It's going to create the environment and the feeling in our household with what we want, right? This level of experience. So I'm all about spending money on experiences, because I really do think it brings a level of satisfaction and joy to your life. All right, lesson number 6 is to plan for the unexpected. You guys, stuff is going to happen in life. It is. Life happens. No matter how much money you have, no matter how big the emergency fund is, unexpected things happen. And I feel like that's one of the weird things about getting older is you just hear more and more stories of people and things that, and tragedies, honestly, that just happen in life that you just think, oh my gosh. So like the big things can happen and that can happen. So plan for those, right? The emergency fund is there. Things even like life insurance and having a will, like being a grown up in this, because unexpected things are going to happen. So taking care of your loved ones, I think is really important, down to like the small things that suddenly our middle one wants to play basketball. We've never played basketball, but she wants to play basketball. So we're like, okay. And it's a, $125 fee to sign up. And you're like, okay, we didn't have that in the budget. So we have a miscellaneous category kind of for our catch-alls on things that just pop up throughout the month that we weren't expecting. And so again, it can be something from very small and insignificant to something like really tragic. But I've just learned things are going to happen in life. So where you can put buffer and expect those things to a degree is really wise. Because again, it's not that it doesn't allow these things to happen and pop up, because they will, but it just gives you some margin and some breathing room and some money to help be that buffer, which I think is really key. So here's the deal. Money tends to be one of these things in life that you really learn as you go. And trust me, if you implement any of these lessons today, I really think it's going to help you when it comes to your money habits and your money mindsets. And if you want a full rundown of my financial strategy, which includes 9 easy to understand money lessons that everyone should know, give FPU a try. Financial Peace University is our course around money that gives you everything from insurance to investing to budgeting to getting out of debt. Gives you the information that you need when it comes to getting control of your money. And it hopefully will motivate you too to get on a plan and start actually making progress with your money. So be sure to share this episode with a friend who loves to try new money strategies. As always, you guys, remember to take control of your money and create a life you love.